Hi everyone, it's me, your host Ross from Freshest podcast, and today we're here with a special guest. So, special guest, please introduce yourself.
I'm Joe Dark, or Joe Light, aka Joe Dark.
Thank you. So, Joe, what got you into the music industry?
I've always loved music from a very young age, and kind of changed genre from like clubland music, Wigan Pier music. Started listening to rap, and as soon as I started listening to rap, I knew I'd always been into writing. Started writing lyrics, and from there it's just been never ending.
Hmm. So, obviously, me and you've had a bit of a
Yeah.
private chat and everything, and I understand that your childhood wasn't the best
Yeah.
growing up and everything. So, would you say your lyrics that you speak about are from past experience and trauma growing up?
Yeah, definitely. It's been one of the biggest fuels in my lyrics. Getting things off my chest, finding a creative way to put things, not just not just thinking of things, finding other ways of putting things. I've that's been my main fuel for my lyrics.
Yeah. So, who would you say is your most obviously you got famous people and obviously people like ourselves who are not out there just yet.
Yeah.
So, for a famous person in the music industry, who would you say you look up to?
Tupac, Eminem, Nines, P Money, and Bugsy Malone. They're my top five.
Is there a specific reason why you like them?
I've always found that the lyrics and what they portray is very real, even if it's very gritty or raw. It's always real. It's never fake. They're the only kind of people that I would take to.
Obviously, as a upcoming artist, so obviously someone who's not big as like
Yeah,
Tupac
yeah,
or Biggie or 50 Cent, for example.
yeah.
Who do you look up to who's on the same level as you? Do you know what I mean? Like, who would you say you look up to in that sort of aspect? Is there any underground music artist? It could be from Blackpool, Manchester, you know, anywhere around the UK.
He's not he's not he's not underground anymore.
Right.
But the one who I did was Bugsy Malone.
Yeah.
I listened to him before he were famous, and as soon as I listened to him, I was like, whoa, like, yeah. I never stopped listening to him from then. I listened to him back in his So all of the Lost in Meanwhile City mixtapes, all the mixtapes that he did before Stereotypes, which were the one where he kind of broke out into mainstream. I do know underground artists. It's just I don't take from them as much as the bigger artists.
Yeah. It's not really taken from them as such. It's just like, you know, say for example I was a upcoming music artist and I listened to your music and I'd be like, oh wow, that Joe Dark, like I can really resonate with his music because of like what he's talking
Yeah.
about. That's what I meant by that. So
Right.
do you have anyone in mind? I mean, if you don't,
I
it's
don't.
no,
No.
not to worry. So obviously going back to your childhood and everything, it wasn't the best, was it?
No, my family situation broke down at quite a young age. No disrespect to my family at all. I was put into care when I was 10. Moved around from care home to care home, foster care, naughty schools, boarding school. Got bullied quite badly at a young age. Abused at quite a young age. In trouble with the police, drugs, alcohol, violence. It wasn't nice to go through at them young years of my life.
Hmm. So obviously, with your childhood not being the best, you know, it's proven that even if you don't have the best childhood growing up, you can still make that change in life. Obviously, you've made a massive change
Yeah,
in your life. You know, you've probably seen things or done things as well that yeah,
yeah,
maybe you shouldn't have done, but you know, you've took a point in life and a turn in life where you've only like, you know what, fuck this, it's time for me to do
Yeah.
my thing. And obviously you found your thing, which is music,
Yeah.
and you know you've took that step forward.
Yeah.
So I mean, con- like congratulations for
Thank
doing all
you.
that. Do you know what I mean? Because
Thank you.
a lot of people will use it as like an excuse to say like, oh well, I've had a hard life, so I'm just gonna use it as an excuse to do bad things. But
Yeah.
whereas you know, you've had a bit of a shit childhood, and you've found music to better yourself. So, I mean, do you have any advice for people who are, you know, new to music and you know they wanna get out there? What advice would you give someone who's just starting?
Use your music as the excuse.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%, because I used to I'm not ashamed to say it. I used to make that excuse a lot in life, and
Mm.
I wouldn't put the effort into the areas of my life that if I did, it wouldn't have been as bad. And I now use I now use music as my excuse, and that's why I'll give that as advice. But find what it is that you want to do, and then put all your time and effort into that, because it'll get you away from everything else that you're going through and that you're dealing with. It's the only way to get out of it, I believe.
Yeah. So, in regards to like writing music as well, because I'm one of these like I'm a music lover myself, and when I listen to people who have gone through some like real shit like yourself,
Yeah.
obviously, like where do you find the inspirations to carry on writing and writing and writing? Because obviously you could probably do an EP about your life
Yeah.
story, but once that EP's been released, what do you write about then? Where does the inspiration come from next?
I guess if you're not pulling it from your own life experiences, you're either pulling it from creativity or inspiration from other people's life experiences. It depends how deeply inspired you are.
Mm.
Because for me, for example, I can pull it from anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be negative.
Yeah.
If it, You pull it from wherever it needs to be pulled from, and even if it can be the same thing, but from a different perspective, from someone else's perspective. You can flip it. You can flip it different ways. As
Mm.
long as you're not going on about the exact same thing over and over again, you pull it from wherever you can.
Yeah. And I believe that a music artist who has been on the podcast as well, obviously not in terms of an interview,
Yeah.
but in terms of being featured on the podcast, he's been in contact with you. How do you feel about their messages?
I've been ever so grateful, honestly, and ever so grateful to being on the podcast, because that's that's the first time I've ever experienced that, and
Yeah.
I was so happy, honestly, and starting to starting to break out of Lancashire, and not just out of Lancashire, but starting to break out of what I was familiar with, of just recording, putting videos out, getting to know people that once upon a time I didn't know at all,
Yeah.
and then getting this opportunity to be interviewed. Yeah.
So, what do you see your future as? Like, you know, would you like to just stay? Obviously, I know you want to break out of like, you know, the area that you're in now,
Yeah.
but is there anything that you have in the distant future? You know, like what are your goals? Like, what is your plans as a music artist going forward?
So this year I'll be releasing my first EP. It's still in the making. I'm going to be calling it Joe Dart Rising Out of the Underground, because that's what I spent the last 10 years doing.
Yeah.
After that, I want to get to know a bigger wide variety of artists, collaborate with them, do albums. I want to have my own recording studio, my own label. I want to take on other artists. I want to uh, the whole 10 yards, as far as I could go. Even one day, hopefully, hand on heart, I want to break out of England, go
Yeah.
international with it.
Yeah. So obviously that's like quite down the line.
Yeah.
So if I said to you, in 5 years' time from now, where would you like to be? What would you say to that?
I'd want to be running my own music business,
Yeah.
my own label, my own recording studio, putting out press releases, putting out music. In 5 years, I'd want to take on my own artist, to be honest, because I've spent the last 10 years working on me, and it's only been this kind of last year that I've started to broaden out. So by the time the next 5 years comes out, I want to have my own EP, my own album, my own studio, my own label, and taking on another artist.
Is there any upcoming artists or any people who you would love to collaborate with?
Yeah, I've got quite a few old school friends that I'd love to collaborate. We still haven't collaborated. There's my mate Callum Sam. He's from Blackpool. There's other MCs in this area that I'd like to do collabs with. There's my mate Chris Wood, Master P he calls himself, from Clitheroe. Yeah, that Kilo Express as well. I'd like to do a collaboration with him. SCG South, who also featured on the podcast. I'd like to do a feature with him. Yeah, that'd be it for now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you two have already spoke, haven't you? And I believe there's something in the pipeline for a little collaboration. And you know what? Doing the podcast, this is what the podcast means to me.
Yeah.
Personally, because I want to introduce other music artists and be like, okay, I know this person. You know, I think they'll be decent on your beat, and sort of like just take it from there, really. So I'm glad what I've got in mind for the podcast. It's sort of kicking off and spiraling out that way.
Yeah.
You know, obviously maybe in the future do open mic nights, take artists to open mic nights and set up events and everything. Yeah. So that's the idea with the podcast, and I'm glad that obviously you've took this journey.
Yeah.
And been on the podcast.
Yeah. So am I.
Is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Just a big thank you. Just a very big thank you, and to anyone else that's either considering doing music or doing music, just starting music, continue with what you're doing. Don't let your life situations, don't let people's criticism or hate get you down and stop you from doing what you're doing, because there is only you that can get you there. And if you have a strong enough drive and a strong enough vision, it doesn't matter if you don't have enough people praising you. Do what you're doing and keep doing it, because one day your hard work will pay off. It will.
Yeah, thanks for that. And thanks for everyone who has just been watching in and tuning in and everything. Make sure you subscribe. Obviously, you do everything on Facebook as well. We've got some stuff coming up, myself and you, haven't we? Yeah. Obviously, the Link Up TV media as well. That's coming out shortly. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel for that. And we'll catch you next time. Thank you very much. I don't want nobody like I want you. Oh, hold on to my body like you always do.